it's new car day. First, clothes. It's also new shirt day. This new design drops right now. Fun day calls for fun car. Let's take the fun car. Aw, why does the bird got shit right the part where I gotta touch it? Just missing one thing before we can take off.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
Ready to roll! Do you guys remember a couple weeks back when I said this? I'm very excited today. I bought our next build this morning and it will be shipped here shortly. I can't wait. So we got another one lined up after this one and I know you guys are gonna like it. Well, earlier that day I was actually online bidding on the car that we have today. So let me bring you back to that day and show you what we got. So, let's go. M5 time. Here we go.
This is a hot lot.
4,000. Just there it goes. 4,100. All mine. 4,2.
New bidder.
4,5. I'm fine at 4,5. It'd be great. 4,6 is even okay too. 4,7. Acceptable. Just give up. It's just me and you, buddy. I'm not quitting. If you would give up now, we would both save some money. A lot of money. This car is going to me. Ah, I think you gave up. Nope. It's time to give up, buddy. I smashed your dreams. This is my car. Come on. Ah, you're just taxing me. Just stop. I hate bidding wars. I hate them. If one of us just stops, this car goes for $6,500. You stop, sir. Give me a break. We're just racking up the price $2,000 extra dollars. Here we go for 3. I'm in this one, buddy. I dare you. No, wait, I don't dare you. Give me. All right. Stop. Okay. I am winning this car. Actually, I only have 10,000 in my account, so give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Bonus time.
Of course, there's bonus time. Come on, baby. Go around. Go all the way around. Keep going. Yes! No, double bonus time? What is this? Who does that? This is a new thing. I've never seen double bonus time. Just go. Just go. Just please, one time. Yes! Yes! 9,300. We can do that. We can do this. Woo! Told you guys you were going to be surprised about the next build. Well, you think I couldn't get a couple friends to park a couple decoy cars in front of the shop for a day to throw you guys off the scent? It was all getting too predictable. I had to shake things up a bit. So, yes, we got another M5 and I will talk about that in a second. But I know a lot of you guys are new here and you're probably wondering, what was that website? Chris, how did you get that car? What's going on there? That website and that company is called Copart, and that company is proudly the sponsor of this episode here. Copart is a company that mainly revolves around buying cars from insurance companies after they've been in a wreck. So they have a huge inventory of salvaged cars, but they also have some repossessed cars, some clean title cars, donated cars, all sorts of different things. And I've bought cars from each one of those categories in my life from Copart. I use them all the time. It's my favorite resource to be able to get cheap project cars or just cars that I wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. And a lot of different YouTubers that you see with expensive project cars, in one way or another, they kind of normally have been through Copart. I could think of Freddie's Lamborghini, Freddie Tavares's Lamborghini went through Copart at one time. And the Bentley that all you guys were talking about, I think went through Copart at one time, but I'm not sure. So anyways, it's a great place where you can find great deals on cars, and I can't say enough good things about them. One question I get asked all the time though is about the licensing and how all of that works. And let me just try and break it down to you guys real simply. There's a map right here. I'm gonna put a link in the description. Before that, let me tell you guys my personal landing page where you guys should go, copart.com/B is for build. Head there first. I'll put a link to that in the description. But also, if you're curious about the different states and the licensing requirements in different states, I'm gonna put a link to that in the description below as well. You click on that, click on your state, and it will tell you the licensing requirements in your state. But let me emphasize this. It's not the state that you're living in that you need to worry about. It's a state where you want to buy the car. So Copart makes it really simple to bid online, and I've bid on cars in New York, Oregon, Washington, California, all over Texas. This car came from Texas. all over the United States. And each state has different rules, and you're playing by the rule where the car resides at the time. So for instance, Oregon is a no license required state. So any of you guys right now, just like me, Joe Schmo account, walk in there, sign up, put a deposit down, you're free to go bid on cars in Oregon. You win that car, you can come out to Oregon, pick it up, or get a tow truck to send it from Oregon there. And they have shipping on the website as well, which I use to bring the cars to myself. So that's as simple as it works. If you don't want to get a broker, which is the other option where you can bid on cars that are in states that require a license, you can use a broker. But if you don't want to do that, just find a car that's in a state that doesn't require a license, and it's that simple. And that's where I buy a lot of my cars. Houston, Texas is where this car came from, as no license required. And mainly I shop a lot in Oregon, so I can go look at the cars, which I highly recommend going to look at the car before you buy it. I just like that, a little bit of that gamble, the gamble life, rolling the dice. That's what I was doing there, rolling dice, and when I buy my cars. So I tend to buy them, a lot of them sight unseen. As you saw with this one, I got in quite a bidding match with another person that was in Texas, so I assume that he went out and checked out this car. I wasn't able to go check out this car because it was all the way in Texas, and I was smack dab in the middle of the RX-7 build, but I did look up the VIN online, and I saw some pictures. So this car was a show car that had some modifications done to it. I almost said the word tasteful. It had some $3,000 wheels. No, actually those wheels were probably multiple $1,000s per wheel on there. So the person that owned it had spent some money. The last time it was had the odometer checked and it was up for sale, it had 74,000 miles on the engine. And the biggest thing with these things is the lower rear bearings they tend to go out, but if you maintain them, it's actually not that expensive of a maintenance compared to the car. It's about $1,200 to take it down to the dealership and have them replaced. If you maintain them, these cars are pretty reliable. So I had hoped somebody spent that much money in mods on a car like this, went ahead and did that work. But then it showed up in the state that it did, and I had my doubts. It's time to turn the camera around, and I'll show you our new car. Well, I hate to start this unveiling off with bad news, but that car only stayed in here overnight one night, and that is a pile of oil, and that is a pile of coolant. So I'm guessing the odds of the previous driver just having bad taste but still caring about his car, probably not as likely as I thought. I still don't know anything really about this car. I haven't ran through it at all. I haven't tried anything on it. I really only put some plastic over the passenger side door and pushed it into the shop, and that's about it. So there's a lot to uncover today. This car was marked as an E on the auction, which doesn't mean some cars are marked as runs and starts. Some cars are marked as just starts. An E can mean that they didn't try and it could easily run and start, or it could mean that they couldn't get it to start. It could mean a lot of things. So I don't know anything about the car. I don't know how many miles it has, and yeah, I don't really know anything except for its previous past on that last company's website when it was for sale. All those pictures that I showed you were off of a dealership website, and I don't know when that listing was made. So what I'd like to try and do is figure out the mileage at least and try and start it today, as long as it has some oil left. But let me pop the hood and show you around. It's an M5, so it has an S85 V10 engine, which is what I wanted. It has an SMG transmission, which I will settle for. Everything under the hood looked fine, especially from what I could see in the pictures, including the amount of crash damage, which looks like it really affected the core support very little. And all of this is stuff that we're very familiar with from working on the last one, except when I got it here, I noticed this handy dandy work, which I cannot imagine what was going wrong or why somebody cared to do this. I don't know if maybe the hood wouldn't fit with these things here. But yeah, that looks like just the perforated metal. That looks like that crappy decorative stuff you find for birdhouses at Home Depot. And a bunch of gobs of RTV, and they cut some, hey, the holes at least match. But that mod right there was not done by a professional. That was where the worrying started for me. Because the other stuff that I was able to see in the pictures, the hood, the painting, the custom headlights, the expensive wheels, and this interior work was done by professionals. So I thought maybe the guy had a lot of money and just had bad taste and I didn't have too much to worry about. But this was designed by flumers or goomers or zoomers. I don't know. I really wish that wasn't there though. That'll get covered up by anything, fire if I have to. And they modified the seats. They put in some suede right here. I'm just now noticing this guy. These are the worst smelling air fresheners ever. They smell like an Axe body spray sponsored locker room. Oh God, I can't deal with it. Yeah, so this wire is obviously not a professionally done modification. I don't know what it goes to. So my hopes of this car, you know, being modded by professionals and then, you know, kind of driven by some guy that had the money to afford it and not tinkered with on their own, that's gone down the drain. Great, they wrote it right here too. Wonderful, wonderful. I wonder if anybody knows how I could get that out. I don't know if I could just use a razor blade and cut all the stitching out. I would love for that not to be there. So yeah, the back seats also have the modified seats. Somebody did spend a lot of money at one point to make this car a show car. Oh, I remember from the pictures there was some speakerage in the trunk. Let's see if we can get in the trunk because I also want to get the battery going on this thing, get a charger on it. I'm gonna try and get myself trunk access. Hey, the back seats in your M5 don't go down, do they? Most likely reason that this car was a marked E and not starts or runs or anything was because I can see through a speaker hole in the back here that there's no battery in the back. So with no battery in the back, the key doesn't allow you to open up the trunk, and these seats don't seem to have a fold down button anywhere. Although they move like they really should fold down, I'm not really seeing anything. I've tried applying power to the front positive and negative jacks over here, and I'm not having any luck. So I gotta keep trying, because I gotta be able to get into the battery terminals in the rear so I can, you know, start to add power to this car in the right way. I'm just gonna keep fiddling until I can figure it out and get in that trunk. It's like a first date. Hey, I made my way into the trunk. So what I ended up doing was I was reading on some forums and they said that if you take the back seat out, so the bottom of the back seat by tucking your fingers in right by those things, you just pull up really hard, pull up, remove that. Then I found this little guy and pulled on it really, really hard and it made the trunk pop. So now I'm into the deep dark abyss that is the trunk and it looks like it's all just been stripped out. So there's no battery over here. Looks like that's what's left over of an amplifier and a bunch of wiring and some control units. I'm gonna get some lights back here, tear this stuff apart. I can't tell if this is custom or what this is. It doesn't look stock. Let me get some lights for you. All right, let's jump in. So this is that weird leather stuff that I was showing you, fake leather obviously, and it looks like that is just, let's see if they were running with the spare. Whoa, that's where the battery goes. Okay, there was a battery in here. Interesting and bad. Interesting and bad. What is that? Instant mobility system. Okay, so that's like a tire reinflator. That's some car stereo stuff. This is a problem. This car had like lots and lots of stereo mods, and then now we have lots and lots of electrical issues. They normally go hand in hand. So let's see. I don't know. This will probably just. Oh, okay. So audio control. What looks like an amplifier, but that looks like it might have been stock at one point. Some other controls over there. And then I don't know what this is, but this looks like hot leads that might have gone to an amplifier or a capacitor at one point. So whoever got rid of this car just completely took the stereo system back, essentially. They went for it. So now it's up to me to kind of try and figure out how to get power back to the car. Okay, I did some quick research and I found out which wires are stock and which ones aren't, and we're gonna go ahead and start taking out the ones that aren't stock, and then I'm gonna start reintroducing some power from the battery side going forward and see if that does anything else to getting the car powered up. I do wanna say, guys, be careful, keep a fire extinguisher close by and keep a close eye on this stuff, especially if you're taking off and going driving. After buying a car in a situation like this, when people just willy-nilly rip stereo stuff out that they wanna keep, it's a good candidate for a wire fire. And what that is normally a positive and a ground will touch touch each other and they'll start smoldering and catch a fire. One of my first cars was a BMW 3 Series, just like this, and same deal. The day I bought it, the guy ripped out his amplifier and some other things like that. Got to the first place I was going, I looked in my rearview mirror, I saw smoke just billowing up from that part there, and my whole trunk was on fire. So it's very exciting and not cool. So keep a close eye out when you're doing stuff like this, and my advice is get all the stuff, the unknowns, out of the car as fast as you can and then rebuild from there. Power supply connected up to the car, and I'm hearing the car do some things. I'm seeing some flashes up front. It's reacting. That's a really good sign. It's just basically supplying supply power only. It's 13.5 volts. It's not a lot of power. But let's see if we can get that key over there. Yeah, so things are blinking. I'm seeing lights over here. Let's see if we can key on and at least get a mileage reading. It's trying. Okay, so this is a good sign. I mean, the electrical system is somewhat operational. We just need a battery. I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to try and charge the battery, and while I do that, let's go ahead and move over to the front, get the car up on the quick jacks, we'll lift it up a little bit, and I'll start tearing apart all this damaged material. I know the front of this car really well at this point, so I could pull off a bunch of this stuff real quickly, and I wanna start to find out where the leaks are coming from, and kind of the state of what's underneath. This was a really good front end teardown. The two frame rails look straight. There doesn't seem to be any obvious bending or kinking in them. So when I get a new front impact bar, that should be able to go right across there. We got the oil cooler doesn't seem to be punctured at all. The AC condenser looks fine. The power steering isn't leaking, but that is like, you know, needs to be replaced. So this is the power steering cooler that runs right across here. Needs to be replaced. One bummer thing is this unit and this unit should basically be one, and the mounts that go from this to that are all snapped off. So basically the oil cooler is kind of just hanging. So I either need to build custom mounts to mount the oil cooler, or buy this piece of plastic that holds the radiator, AC condenser, power steering cooler, all of that together, which, you know, you could do as well. So everything looks okay from up top, other than the obviously, you know, destroyed things. Oh, I didn't show you guys the headlights. The headlights were modified. They were highly modified with a bunch of tacky crap, multiple colored LED strips, and I pulled the hardware out from under the hood for those. Sorry, I shouldn't be so negative with this stuff. Like I always say, to each their own. You buy the car, you save up the money, you want to buy an M5, do whatever the hell you want to it. Now this isn't what I would do, but I should really stop being so negative, so I apologize. But yeah, the previous owner did have some multicolored LED stuff for the show car. That was the style that he was going for. I saw pictures with it being red and other colors, and the supporting mods for that. So those are trashed because they're broken and they're trash. So yeah, that stuff is all expected. Obviously the headlights would be damaged. These two upper core support bars look perfectly fine. That's kind of how they look from factory, so they don't look damaged at all. There's nothing crowding the engine, so I don't think that the engine was damaged at all in the wreck. But we haven't got underneath yet, so that's the next step. I mean, you can see the 3 little new oil spots. That's a terrible sign. And then we have 1 to 2 different coolant spots right there as well. So that's a really bad sign. I need to get underneath and see what happened. Okay, looking underneath here, I'm finding a lot of interesting things. I noticed there is some scratching on these lower control arms right here, and on both sides, and I think that's nothing to worry about. I think that is from the forklift that was used to lift it. I immediately noticed that the sway bar has become detached on this side, and it is incorrectly installed on this side. Well, at least the nut is just not all the way on there. So that's just a sign of some, you know, poor maintenance or poor attention to detail on the previous owner's part. The coolant is coming from a crack right here, and this is just a lower, what's it called? It's like a skid plate. It's nothing structural. So above this, it's pooling the liquid. Somewhere above this is where the liquid is coming from. And then the oil, interestingly enough, is just coming from, sorry, let me move the camera a little bit. Coming from the drain plug. the drain plug is collecting oil right there. So it could be something as simple as a crush washer that was not properly installed, so it's losing a little bit of oil, or somewhere else above it is losing oil and it's coming right down to it. Now, the last thing that I noticed on this car when it was actually on the truck is that the exhaust is gone. It's not on here. And that wasn't removed by the wreck because I can see at the very, very far back, there is a pipe that is chopped off. So the previous owner took this on their way out. So I was really curious to see how much they took. And the answer is terrible. They took all of it. All of it. The full exhaust manifold is completely gone. So that is quite a bummer. I'll need to get new gaskets, a new exhaust manifold, and I have no idea how long those have been open to air. But you got rusting on all of the studs, which is actually pretty normal just from normal use. And then also, let's see, I can't find the wires. I found them on the other side. You're going to have O2 wires that are reading to O2 sensors to tell how the exhaust is doing. I'm going to need that whole setup as well. So I need the sensors with the plugs on the back and the pigtails and everything. I don't know where it is on that side, but I could show you on this side. There's some stuff right here. There's this guy and this guy. Oh, that guy. And normally, I mean, how many wires is that? That's 6. That's a little bit different. Normally it's 4 for an O2 sensor. Maybe they just, I don't know. Yeah, so there's two banks, obviously, of 5, and they each need their own sensor set to tell if they are running rich or lean. Overall, not great news from under there, but not terrible either. It's okay with me seeing things that were uninstalled because they're probably an expensive part. They wanted to take them off and keep them with them, like probably what happened with the wheels and the exhaust. I'd rather see that than things like what was going on with the sway bar, where I found one sway bar support rod was a little bit bent, actually a lot of it bent, and then the other one was uninstalled. Probably what that meant is they hit something, bent one of the sway bar support rods, and then that made the other side of the sway bar not fit. So then they just like, okay, leave that one unbolted, leave that one kind of where it is, and they probably drove it around like that for quite a while. Don't want to see stuff like that. The signs of being driven around for a long time on a shoestring budget are obviously terrible. Seeing things gone from the car, that is what it is. We can just replace those. So yeah, things like whoever decided to do this and whatever they decided to do it for are really the bad things that I don't want to see. Now, how we're going to figure out how long it was probably driven around on the shoestring budget? We need to see how many miles are on the car. The battery actually did charge up. I'm really surprised. So we're at about 75% battery. We're not going to attempt to start this car because we don't have an exhaust manifold and we don't know the oil level and other things like that. But I could still go ahead and power it on. So that's what I'm going to try and do now. Okay, got the key. Let's give this a shot. So it's in neutral right now. I probably just want to power button once. Okay. Attention. Why'd the computer shut off? Really? Oh, okay, there we go. Ooh, 111,000 miles. That's one of the higher mileage ones I've ever seen. Damn. Let's see how many things are... I'm surprised the stereo works at all. Well, at 111,000 miles, that's a lot more miles than I expected. Because the last time I saw this car was up for sale at 74,000 miles. So somebody put a lot of miles on it, but they put them on there at a relatively quick pace. So that's probably, it was probably used on the highway, but that's also probably where a lot of the botched, kind of shoestring budget fixes came. And the guy had plenty of time to do them, so it's gonna be up to me to kind of fix all that. Okay, so where I'm thinking this car has been, I think it was kind of bought and built by somebody that had a lot of money that wanted a really unique car, and they did that. They hired other people to do that, and then eventually, that was sold, and that was sold on to the next guy who maybe, didn't want to continue putting money into the car and drove it a lot over several miles and kind of decided to do DIY repairs in a half measured type of way, and that's kind of how it ended up where it was. Obviously then in the wreck. So I think that's kind of the history of this car. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and now apply my skills to make up for that lost time. We're gonna have to do an oil test to see if the bearings have started to eat themselves or not, and see if that needs to be replaced. It's gonna need to be replaced either way unless it's already been done. So that's the hard thing to figure out. But you can figure that out by testing the oil. So I'll need to do that. I'm gonna get home and order some new exhaust as well. But I don't think, I mean, so I think I got an okay price for it. I don't think I got like a slamming deal for it, but I also don't think it was the worst price ever because I'd been shopping for these for a long time and they all were going for really, really expensive. This one has a lot of body problems. The front hood was damaged. The roof and the trunk lid both have hail damage. The taillights have personalization damage. So there's a lot, you know, this wasn't a very good parts car for a lot of people. So I thought I would get it at a lower deal, but I really, as you saw, I got in a bidding war. And like I always tell you guys, don't get in bidding wars. Unless you run a YouTube channel and you have to have a car immediately, then maybe you need to get in a bidding war like I did. So that's where I'm gonna stop today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We do have this new merch. It drops right now. Since you're watching the episode now, it should be on there right now. Limited quantities, but we are shipping these ones around the world. So if you missed out on the last MBS for Build We Trust shirt because you were international, we got you this time. I did it in a different way. That way we could help you guys out. So shirts and hoodies on sale right now. Get them before they're gone. That's about it, guys. Thank you so much for the support. I know you guys are probably wondering, what the heck are you doing with this? Chelsea had joked around with me and said that I bought it because I had a lot of leftover bolts from the last M5, which isn't true. I do have a lot of spare nuts and bolts. But I will explain the future of this car in the next episode. It's going to be an amazing project. High horsepower is the hint. And maybe I want to race one of my YouTube buddies. But I will explain that in the next one. So tune in for that and it'll be out the day after tomorrow. All right, see you guys then. Peace!